Hey everyone, welcome back here to my channel where I play Planet Zoo. My name is Nissa and today we are back in future Life Sub-Saharan Africa where we try to help animals in the future, normally critical endangered animal, and this is also including the Western Lowland Gorilla. So if you want to hear more on conservation about the Western Lowland Gorilla or just see how I built this habitat, then please keep watching. And today we are gonna use 3 different websites for this video. It is animalia.bio, it is IUCN Red List, and it is gorillas.org. Gorillas.org is also a non-profit, and you can of course go donate, help out if you want to. They also have a gift shop and a clothing store if that's something that tickles your fancy. And of course, all 3 websites will be linked below. The gorillas are fairly strong apes, and therefore I go in again and do this concrete building, and then I will just beautify it outside with some layers of wood. Of course, normally it would be thinner layers of wood, but this is the thickness of wood we have in the game. On this side over here next to the rhinos, I go with these orange stone textured wall pieces to make them blend into the orange stones that there are a lot of over at the rhino's habitat. Luckily, I made the first invisible barrier here way too big, I think double size, because I keep making it smaller and smaller every time I put down a stone, a rock, a wall piece or anything. I just make them smaller and smaller, so I think it fits in nicely that I can do it this way. I want the guests to be able to get up in the air, to actually be in level with the gorillas when they climb, and I think most of us people who love these climbable animals, we want to be at level with them when they climb, so we can actually see them climb and not just look up and see that there's something up there on the platform, but we can't see it from here. Besides that, I also give them a fairly big house, which I do not think they would actually need, but since the guests can go pretty much all over the habitat, I think it would be nice for the gorillas to have this enclosure where they can go inside and feel safe and go away from everyone if they feel like it. And if you are a little bit sharp, you can see already I am using items that are not from the Planet Zoo game, and that is modded props. All of the modded props, I have a playlist for them where you can see every single item in each pack, but if you see anything specific that you really like, then you can look at the mark on each thing in the menu. Have a mark in the upper right corner, and that mark tells you which pack it is. For instance, the orange Africa mark as we have here is from the Savannah pack, African Savannah pack. Then we have a purple Asia, which is the Indian pack, I think. Red North American map is of course North America, and so on. We also have some difference that is, for instance, a leap is the exhibit prop pack, and a little bug is the exhibit animal pack. So there's a little difference in there, but again, I have a playlist with all of them if you want to see for yourself all of the goods you can get in these mods. Though keep in mind that if you're not used to playing with mods, there is a few rules you need to follow, especially for how to install it, and in those videos I also have linked below to a video on how to install it, so we don't mess up your game or anything on your computer. And just to mention, 99% of these props are flexi-colored. I know Frontier have become much better at it than they used to be, but still it's nice with just having nearly everything flexi-colored. There's a few wood pieces like this one that is not, but even the wall pieces that are wood are flexi-colored, and I love it. The Western Lowland Gorilla still have a few things where they are resistant and really thrive, or at least survive in nature. That would be Cabinda, which is a part of Angola, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Congo, and then mainland of Equatorial Guinea, and then Gabon. They do not live in all of these areas, but they will live from around like ground level and then about 800 meters up in the mountains, which is why they are the lowland gorilla. It's not that it's only the flat land. They do go a little bit up in the mountains, but not too far. According to the IUCN's red list, they are critical endangered, and their last research entry here were in January 2018, so it's fairly recent. However, they do not show a specific number of Western Lowlands gorillas in the wild. Neither does Animalia. But according to gorillas.org, the numbers are currently fewer than 1,200 individuals. Going back to IUCN Red List, their estimation is just that the numbers are still decreasing, and putting those two together, it doesn't look good for these beautiful animals. Again, if we have an animal where we have 500 million of them in the world, then it's okay, the numbers are decreasing, we can live with that. But when we do not already have more than this, it does become issues. Besides that, the populations are a little bit fragmented, which again go back and give us issues, because we can end up with inbred gorillas, which is not, it's better than none, but it's not really a great thing in any sense of the word. I'm just gonna go through the threats according to the IUCN Red List, and one is the agriculture in the area again. Either we actually harvest parts of these forests that they live in, or we will instead go and remove the forest to to have farms on again. Farms aren't naturally there. They are actually something that we remove nature to make room for. It's not only in Africa, it's every single country in the world. If you want a farm, it needs to be placed somewhere, and it is kind of the same thing as if you want to build a city or a highway. Which brings us to the next threat on the list, which is basic transportation issues. This can again be that they build highways and train tracks and so on, but it can also simply be that the highways, train tracks and so on is already there, but instead of being an issue that they are placing it, it's an issue that the gorillas are walking on it, and a big truck or a train will hit them. The next one is human intrusion and disturbance, and this is the thing where it would be easy to do something about it. Again, you cannot remove a road or something like that if it's already there, and the local population of humans also need food and so on, so we also kind of need the fields. But under human intrusion and disturbance, there is two under subject, which is recreational activities, and then we have work and other activities. And the work in these areas is mainly again forestry work or something like that, but recreational use could either be local population simply going for a walk in the area, but it could also be people from around the world who actually want to see these beautiful animals. And that is something that I always found really weird, when we go out and disturb these animals and maybe scare them, either so they won't reproduce or they will move, because we want to see them. So there will be less of them in the future to see if we choose to see them in these aggressive ways. I will say there is ways where you can see them and kind of respect them and not disturb them too much, but you need to be very, very mindful about this. And seeing animals in their natural habitat is a really, really big industry in a lot of places, including African countries. And then we come to climate change and severe weather, and that's not really a shocker for anything. It hurts pretty much every single animal on the world. There's a few of them that actually benefit for it, but in the big picture, it's not great in any way for anyone, and it's just sad to see that these gorillas also are hurt by it, but it's not a shocker at this point. Then we have mining and quarrying in the areas, and that goes in with both the roads and railroads, and it's also work in with the work and other activities in this area. It's very noisy, it disturbs them a lot, and it can sometimes hunt them away from their own habitat, especially because gorillas are partially nomadic animals, and therefore they can have been not in the area for a while, but then they need to pass through, and suddenly there is this whole mining activity that is just a shit show for a gorilla if you want to just get from A to B and you were really counting on you could stay the night in this area. Then they also live in these areas where both local but also national and sometimes internationals, we want to use as many resources as we can from these areas, which again goes back to different minings, work in the areas, roads and so on. This could for instance be the animals in the areas, including these gorillas that get hunted or trapped, but it is again logging and wood harvesting that takes away their home. And then they have a bit of an open category. It's called invasive and other problematic species, genes and diseases, which is something we see a lot of places. But again, all of the apes are really vulnerable when it comes to diseases from us humans. Again, we will just go to the doctor, the gorillas do not, but because we have a lot of the same genes, we are in the same family, we can share a lot of the same diseases. So if it could is something that you could like viral infections, for instance, where you could pass it on to another human, then you would probably also be able to pass it on to a gorilla. It could also be things as invasive animals that comes and eat their food, so there's not as much food for the gorillas, which is actually what we humans do. Again, humans do natively live in these areas, but not in the numbers that we see nowadays, and a lot of the people who go there doesn't necessarily live there naturally. They go to get something out of the area and then they go back home when there's nothing left to take. And again, with the genes, when we do not have more than at most 1,200 adult individuals in the wild, then it is most common that we will see inbreeding, which gives bad genes, and these genes will live on for each generation, and each generation will get worse and worse as they become more and more inbred. Luckily, a lot of people are working hard to change the directions the numbers of these beautiful animals are going, and according to the IUCN Red List, we have already recovery action plans in place for the Western Lowland Gorilla. Furthermore, we also have partial areas managed and protected for these gorillas. Not in their entire range, but in parts of their range. And again, when animals move around, it's hard to like limit a area and say this is where you're safe. Furthermore, we have in place educations, which is, for instance, subject to recent education and awareness programs. This could be both locally but also globally. Include an international legislation, which is really where we can do an impact, and subject to any international management, trade control. So you cannot just go down there and catch a gorilla and then just trade it and sell it and make money off it anymore. That part is controlled. Does it happen illegally? Most likely, but just know, if you ever get offered a gorilla like this, then please say no, and please record whoever is offering the the gorilla, please report them to proper authorities. But remember that these things are not only done by the IUCN Red List. They work with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of researchers and so on to get all of these things. The IUCN Red List itself is more a recording of all of these things, and this is where places like the gorilla organization can come in. They, for instance, are supporting rainforest rangers. They are teaching local children for sustainable conservation, which is really, really important, that people living in these animals learn from kids to be aware of these gorillas and other animals as well, of course, and do not just leave garbage and whatever in the forest. Always respect the nature and the animals living therein. The organization also go a little out of the world of the gorillas and actually work to empower women and girls in the local human populations. This could be with schools, but it also with farming and solar power and training their skills to make sure they can take care of themselves and maybe even get their own farm, educate them in different ways. Which I think is wonderful. I do not know the local population here. I do not know if there's a specific reason why this is targeting women and girls and not small boys, for instance. But that part does come back around because they also support indigenous communities, which is, of course, all gendered included. They also stop snares, actually go out and remove some of these snares that illegal hunters put out there for the gorillas and for other animals. Then all of these farm work they does is of course organic, and they have started the gorilla safe zone, which again is a protected area that we also heard about with the IUCN Red List. And then we have something called Yemke Warren Memorial Conservations Award, which also is something that is giving to people who does something amazing for the gorillas. And we have a historic gorilla project going on, again to both research the historic of what's happened with these gorillas as well as teaching people about it, so we do not start making the same mistakes again and again and again. Okay guys, that's all I got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it, and as always, you know the drill. Like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you know the next time I upload a video. I really hope to see you again, either in the comments below or in the next video. Bye guys!